ice cream is eaten for happiness. At the end of a day, you want to just de-stress. You want to indulge, right? And if the taste is not on point, people will not eat it, right? Then there's a very small audience who's only looking at maybe their sugar levels and hence will eat it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a few diabetic family members. Despite being diabetic, they still want to indulge and do indulge. It's human tendency to want to do that, right? But the impact it had on them was quite scary to see. I was like, so we have to make something which can solve for this.
So you spoke about a lot of flavors, including Indian flavors.
Yeah.
So how do you get product market fit for many of these? I think you have so many SKUs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I see you have NOTO waffle ice cream sandwiches, mini ice cream bites, zero sugar syrups, even Indian mithai.
Yeah.
Right? Help us understand how did you do the product market fit for them?
Yeah.
And then which one of these do you want to talk about a little bit more as unique ones?
Sure.
This is winters in Delhi today, but we still love our ice creams. Joining us today is Varun Sheth, the co-founder of NOTO, a brand that's rewriting the rules of indulgence with guilt-free take on ice creams. So welcome, Varun, for a quick scoop on what you're doing at NOTO.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Awesome.
Look forward to it.
Oh, thank you. Let's get started, Varun. We have worked very closely with you guys and proud of where you have reached. Tell us what inspired you to start NOTO or the why behind NOTO.
The why behind NOTO. Yeah, I think the why is actually very personal. It's very personal to me. While there's always a business angle attached to starting a new venture, the personal bit was a weight loss journey, which prompted me to look for better dietary options. And my biggest pain point has always been my sweet cravings, my sugar cravings specifically. No matter how hard I tried, I would always want to eat something sweet every day. And that kind of derailed the progress I made through the rest of the day. So while, just genuinely looking out for better sugar-free or lower sugar options for sweets and desserts, there was nothing that I came across which actually tasted good. I think there was a good amount of progress made in protein bars, energy bars, but that's still not a dessert. It's maybe a snack replacement, etc. So I was like, can we actually make a dessert or an ice cream that tastes good, right? Which you can enjoy, which you don't have to worry about. So it started with that, and I think over the course of a year, while on this journey, my wife and I kept looking for different options across different parts of the world. Is there something like this, right? Where can we take inspiration from? So that I think that's kind of the premise. And I think besides myself and my own weight loss journey, I have a few diabetic family members, and despite being diabetic, they still want to indulge and do indulge. It's human tendency to want to do that, right? But the impact it had on them was quite scary to see. I was like, so we have to make something which can solve for this, and there's probably a lot more people like them. I think our country is, almost has an obesity epidemic, which we don't kind of see on a daily basis, but it's there. So can we solve for a younger millennial, Gen Z, who is looking to upgrade, make smarter choices, as well as solve for the diabetic customer, give them something that they can eat every day without having to compromise. So on the taste, yeah.
Awesome. And I believe you go to the gym also very regularly.
I do attempt to, yes.
So you're solving for your muscle building through the
gym.
Absolutely.
I think it's a combination of different. It's food is one aspect of it. Working out physically, staying in shape, of course, is another aspect, and being consistent with any of this is as important, right? So
now food, exercise, and sleep, I think are very
sleep
important.
I think at this I'm coming to the point where I'm treasuring my sleep more and more so, and realizing how much impact it has on my just freshness, clarity of mind, all of that. So sleep, I would say, is 100% one of the most important.
Awesome. So while you've spoken about why are you doing NOTO, and I could actually see a very special smile on your face when you actually spoke about I can now eat sweet when you're explaining. So do you want to explain our viewers what is NOTO and what does it do?
Yeah. So NOTO is an ice cream. We started off with making ice creams primarily. It is an ice cream that is lower in sugar or has no sugar in most cases. And we do this by swapping a few ingredients out for sugar. Yet when you typically have, let's give an example of a few sugar-free products that you have, whether it's a sachet you add for your chai, there sometimes is an aftertaste. So we said ice cream is eaten for happiness. At the end of a day, you want to just de-stress, you want to indulge, right? And if the taste is not on point, people will not eat it, right? Then there's a very small audience who's only looking at maybe their sugar levels and hence will eat it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's too small an audience for us to focus on. So we said taste has to be solved. So I think we spent 6 months is working on making sure there's no aftertaste. The same creaminess that you get in your favorite ice cream brand is important. So NOTO essentially is giving you the same decadence, creaminess of eating a regular ice cream, but without the sugar and with far fewer calories. You could eat 2 cups a day or 2 cups of NOTO, that's equivalent to 1 scoop of a regular ice cream. So I think there's a win-win there, that if you want to binge eat it also, you can. So that's kind of what NOTO is about. And then I think we taken inspiration of a lot of Indian flavors. We said we don't want to westernize this product completely and say only just because millennials are the focus or Gen Z is the focus. We said we still love our roots, we still love our aam, we still love our peru, we love fruits, and India has some great produce, great dairy. So all our ice cream is made using cow's milk. We don't use vegetable fats either. So we give the promise of low sugar, no sugar, and lower calories, but yet try to retain the wholesomeness of other ingredients. So that's
awesome. Yeah. So you spoke about a lot of flavors, including Indian flavors.
Yeah.
So how do you get product market fit for many of these? I think you have so many SKUs, right? I mean, if I see you have NOTO waffle ice cream sandwiches, mini ice cream bites, zero sugar syrups, even Indian mithai. Yeah. Right? Help us understand how did you do the product market fit for them? Yeah. And then which one of these do you want to talk about a little bit more as unique ones?
Sure. So I mean, I don't know if we've taken a very scientific approach per se. Maybe we're not at that stage yet where we've done in-depth market research studies, but we've done consumer surveys in smaller sample sizes across multiple cities where we sell our products. There are definitely regional preferences for flavors, etc., that we've noticed. But dissecting what larger FMCG ice cream companies have done, what some of the regional but well-loved parlor-based ice cream brands have done, we draw a lot of inspiration from that in terms of deciding what our product portfolio should be. An example would be Cornetto for quality walls is their largest selling brand in India by far, which means the idea of a waffle cone and ice cream paired together is something consumers love. We said, while we can also do a cone ice cream, it's not really adding as much value because there's multiple brands doing it. So, which was our take and inspiration for doing the Choco Taco. We spent a lot of time kind of figuring out the shape. It's a laborious process. There's no machinery there to make it, but it gives a very unique eating experience. And we've noticed that when people are buying packaged ice creams or store-bought ice creams versus going out to a mall or a parlor and eating it, formats of ice creams is far more interesting for them than a plain scoop. So 70% of all ice cream sales for us and a lot of packaged ice cream brands, probably for quality walls, Amul, etc., also would be formats like cassata, sandwich ice creams, ice cream cakes. So that's how we've kind of evolved our product portfolio, saying that excitement of eating a texture along with ice cream cake ho ki cone ho, that's what excites customers.
Oh, awesome. I think you talked about flavors and feels like I should not have a chai, maybe I should have an ice cream during the interview.
We have some, we'll definitely have some of that.
Talking about flavors, again, you have a lot of flavors, right? As you spoke, whether it's a pina colada pop or a spicy pink guava, cranberry, orange, and so on. Right? How do you come up with these flavors and how do you innovate these flavors?
Sure. So I think coming up with flavors, we look at, for example, let's take the example of butterscotch or chocolate. Both two examples. In butterscotch, I would say to an extent has evolved into salted caramel today. Um, or dulce delish. That's what a butterscotch equivalent would be. Base flavors, base components, familiarity is very similar, but as time passes, you maybe evolve from milk chocolate to slightly darker chocolate. So that's one area where we see trends going towards. I think other than that, we look at a lot of cocktail and mocktail recipes for our popsicles, because it's a very refreshing thing to have in the day. The popsicle is not necessarily a post-dinner thing that people have, and it's very summer, right? So in summer, you want to have like a blue curacao, you want to have a pina colada, you want to have a cosmopolitan, things like that, right? So those become some flavor inspirations for our popsicles. So we kind of look at not just ice cream category, but also beverage category and other consumption, cocktails as a category as well. So yeah.
That's a very unique way of
Yeah,
designing an ice cream flavor, but I love it.
Yeah.
All right. And many of the products you spoke about, whether it's Indian mithai or a sandwich, etc., these products have sugar as a main ingredient, at least for the last 50-100 years that I have known. How do you come up with making them sugar free?
Sure.
And how do you bring the same flavor to those products? Because otherwise people may not want to eat if it's not the same flavor.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's no 1:1 substitute for sugar, which is sugar free today, that tastes good. Or will give you the same satisfaction. So you have to use a combination of alternative sweeteners, and we use things like, so for example, stevia is that today, monk fruit is that today. But just use in isolation will give you an aftertaste which is not pleasant. So we use that in very, very small dosages with other ingredients like FOS. These are vegetable fibers, essentially. They're called fructooligosaccharides. It's also a dietary supplement. So these are from fermented bananas, papayas, is how it's made. They have lower calorific value, a very neutral sweetness, and give a lot of body to the ice cream as well, a lot of creaminess, which you would not get by just using a stevia or monk fruit. So we use a combination of FOS, stevia, and then things like erythritol and maltitol. It's a polyol family, which is lower in calories and also low glycemic index sweeteners. And when you use a combination of a few of these in certain dosages, is when you can kind of naturally get the same taste as sugar with far lower calories and no impact on your blood sugar levels as well. So yeah, those are the things
that sounds very scientific to me.
It's I think it's things are changing and it's very good for the better, for sure. More and more availability of such ingredients has come about and awareness is coming about. And if I had to weigh the pros and cons of consuming excessive sugar versus consuming this, I would certainly pick this, because sugar can be a silent killer. You don't realize it, and we consume sugar in pretty much everything. So I do have, from that point of view, I would certainly.
And absolutely, not just me and you, probably many stars have endorsed what you have done.
Yeah.
So practically, or honestly, how does it feel like being approved by John Abraham, Ranvijay Sinha, and many other celebrities who have endorsed your brand organically, and kind of put their stamp of approval?
Yeah, no, I think it's fabulous to know that the product has appeal beyond while we started off with building it for ourselves, but there was automatically a customer base who related to it, and celebrities, of course, being one step ahead in the fitness curve, are definitely proponents of spreading the word for such things. So we're very happy to know that this consumption is and awareness is being created. So yeah, for sure, it's great.
Awesome. So let's go little bit more deeper into social media. I think you have about 35,000 followers on Instagram.
Sure.
So just wanted to know that for a food brand or a consumer brand like yours, how important is social media?
Yeah.
And how do you get there? What is your advice to other founders on this as well?
No, I think very, very important, especially if you're largely selling online, selling digitally. even more so then. If you have brick and mortar stores or your own stores, it might be a bit easier to not have to focus so much on that only. But for us, it's been the best way for us to engage with our community, to build a community and to be able to engage with them. Where we see the relevancy of content we put up being lapped up, because there's a certain fit of what you're talking to the consumer being able to grasp it, right? There's also a lifestyle aspect to it, I think, and an aspirational aspect to it. Um, we we never have believed in, so far, I don't think even today our stance is the same, bringing a big celebrity and paying them.
Yeah.
While it's a sound strategy at scale and with high distribution, we've never had the budgets to say, okay, we'll get some X person on board and you do a shoot with us and so on, right? But we've done a lot of gifting, and we don't have a compulsion that if I send you a free Noto hamper, that you have to post it or talk about it. We just want you to try the product. And if you happen to really like it and you post it, that's a win-win for us as well. You'll become a consumer, and you'll also hopefully spread the word to your close circle, right? So I think that went a long way for us in gifting product out generously, almost as a customer acquisition cost of sorts, and far cheaper than spending just talking about it on Facebook ads or whatever. This was far more effective, I think. Yeah.
No, I think I read this book, Influence, and I think
Okay.
the first chapter there is around gifting.
Okay.
So and the power it has.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
various
Yeah,
aspects.
yeah,
So good to learn that from you as well.
Yeah.
Cool. It sounds easy that you launch a brand, it's great, it sells, celebrities are endorsing it, but we know it's not that easy. A lot of challenges come through when we are an entrepreneur. So help us talk through your challenges that you faced so far. How did you overcome them? And again, any advice for any of the founders like you?
So I think in our category specifically, one is we were building a new category when we launched.
Yeah.
So category creation requires you to be able to, I think, sample products, and not just give products free, but take part at different kinds of events, physically go and get people to, so you get first-hand feedback whether people like your product or not. Having that confidence that people like your product is probably half the battle won, at least. Especially in food, consistency and product quality is probably everything. So knowing that there's love for the product was one of the first things we wanted to kind of get out of the way and know we're on the right track. And pre-COVID, we did a lot of that. So I think that was one learning important bit for us. I think the challenges, I would say, cold chain to an extent. I think all ice cream brands, large, small, I think face it in India. I think we've improved a lot. Having said that, in the last few years, and it's made life much easier than when we started, when there was almost nothing. It's becoming organized cold chain, warehouse players, logistic players. So I think, and that's for us is everything, is our cold chain. If there's an abuse there, then customer is going to receive a product which is icy, half shrunk, and that still does happen time to time. We can't give 100% experience. I don't think any ice cream brand can. But so that's one of the challenges. I think we continue to try to find ways to improve on that. And I think geographical distribution, on account of being a more brand still which is not mass. So how do you cater to customers across the entire country? It's a massive country. So we're slowly kind of trying to build relevancy within important cities and markets, and then spreading ourselves versus going everywhere from day one.
I think I totally agree. I think you talked about, let's say a cold chain supply chain. You talked about product not being mass, and still managing so many, I would say, distribution channels, right? So how do you really manage and think about the distribution channels, whether it is quick commerce, your own website, and maybe even offline?
Sure.
So help me give a flavor around that a bit.
Yeah. No, I think for us, what's worked is cosmopolitan pin codes, localities, where there's a melting pot of different kinds of people from all parts of the country, sometimes expats as well. We see acceptance levels being the highest there, and we kind of try and extrapolate that to every city we're going to and make those our primary pin codes of distribution. Ice cream at the end of the day is impulse purchase. You don't pre-plan it like you may pre-plan a t-shirt or a sweater purchase. So you have to be available hyper locally, because your product should not melt, and it needs to be available in a very short period of time. So which is why we picked Swiggy, Zomato, and food aggregators first when we launched, um, to make sure customers get a very good experience and don't have to pre-plan.
Yeah.
Right? You find it, you see it, you want it, you get it. And now quick commerce has also evolved, taking us to another level of 10-minute delivery times, etc. So we see a lot of relevancy of being available on these two digitally driven channels at, I would say, lower infrastructure at our end, not too much infrastructure being developed at our end and teams being developed at our end, making sure that we can target the customers that these guys are able to already supply to, the pin codes that they're already available at. So we are piggybacking off some of that infrastructure. But it just is a leaner way, in my opinion, to grow versus maybe going down general trade distribution, investing in freezers, investing in a very large sales team, returns, and various other things that you are probably more of an expert than I am. But at some point we will certainly, and I'm not saying that we will always remain an online brand, but to start off, I think it is probably the better choice. Eventually, you have to also go wherever customers are and at all kinds of touch points. And brand building happens offline for sure. Over the next couple of years, I think we'll be doing more of that.
No, sure. As you mentioned, of course, I did spend some time with Unilever ice creams. And those days, 20, 25 years back, our biggest worry was kaun sa freezer kahan pada hai aur kitna return ho raha hai, rather than the ice creams, right? But I think that has evolved, and it's a good way to grow lean and use the infrastructure that's available now in the public domain. But talking about customers and growth, you have shown phenomenal growth in the last 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
Other than use of this public infrastructure, 10-minute deliveries, what are the other strategies you deployed to be able to achieve this growth?
I think it's largely been two things. One is product consistency, innovation in products, giving a consistent product time after time. So someone who's adopted your product and has a certain expectation, trying to make sure we're delivering on that expectation, and banking on then word of mouth also to play a huge part in spreading that awareness, right? It's the cheapest form.
It's the cheapest and most effective
form, right? So I think that, and I think it's largely then just been an execution play of making sure we're able to build those touch points out, build the logistics out, have stock available. I think availability of stock where you want to sell, and that's really important, because having a marketing campaign followed by zero availability really falls flat then. So I think we've just focused on, a few of the basics, but it's a very operationally driven, logistically driven business. Glamorous is not, I would say, the largest thing. That, of course, definitely to an extent you're building a brand, but you also have to make sure that you're able to service the expectations.
So a lot of hard work and execution.
I think it's largely been just execution. I don't think we've done anything from a rocket science view. I think our recipes is something we work hard at, and that's proprietary. Of course, we try and make sure we have something unique about our products, which it's not easy to copy. But today also in our category, I would say we're the only ones who have a legit Magnum equivalent in terms of the finishing, in terms of the shape. It's not a choco bar. Most brands will just give you a choco bar and call it a bar of sorts, but ours has a proper curve to it. So we take a lot of pride in making that extra effort to make sure the product also then feels premium, tastes premium.
That's true.
And is not a mass product, right? There are 20 rupee products out there as well, which are great, but that's not what we are in the business of doing. So
And when you were talking about channels, we did allude to a little bit on offline. Any thoughts on what you think about offline now, later, and general thoughts about how should founders think about offline?
I think in ice cream, I think it's probably slightly different from other food brands. But I think offline, and generally in food, I think offline, the sooner you do it or sooner you can figure out a dual strategy, your growth will come in faster, as far as you're being lean about it still. Because the eyeballs you get there, the customers you get there is different. It's not necessarily the same. The depth in market is much greater there. So I do believe that for us, today there are brands, premium ice cream brands doing 200 crore turnovers, selling 200 rupee cups, London Dairy, just Häagen-Dazs. They're still niche from a overall ice cream market perspective, but they are predominantly offline in general trade, AA plus, and modern trade. So I don't think that's going anywhere, and I think that will continue to be relevant. In fact, sometimes today I feel in the digital world, going and shopping outside is a lot of fun in itself, right?
It is.
You land up impulse buying so many things when you go to a store.
Correct.
So I think yes, for us we will.
No, you're right. I was earlier with Vishal Megamart for some time. Just recently went public. We'll design the whole walkaway of a customer in a manner that the real product they came for is in the end, right? So you end up purchasing it on the way.
Yeah, I think retail strategies are I think there's a whole conversation on that, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke to us about, or you gave a lot of insights to founders or advice around having a great product, through design, innovation. And we talked about having a good distribution channels. You talked about a lot of hard work that the founder goes through.
Sure.
I think one more piece is around advice to founders around how to raise funds, because that's also another kind of blood of the organization that kind of fuels all of this, right?
Oh yeah.
So any advice to other founders to raise funds?
I think you have to be at it. There's no I've raised some money and I'm done with it, because I don't think you're ever going to be done with it. So I think that I think if you have a co-founding team, it's very helpful, where one of the founders' responsibility pretty much over the first 5 years or so will continue to predominantly be fundraising. For me, it's definitely taken some toll on my business bandwidth on account of having to raise money and then being focused on raising money, because it does take up a lot of time and it's not easy. Of course, market scenario is tougher, etc. It can go up and down. So you have to be prepared to ride it through, knock on all possible doors. Have to be maybe a little bit shameless about it as well, not have an ego about whom you're raising from, why so not have a certain valuation expectation in your mind that without this valuation I won't raise. So I think those are some of the things I would say, and obviously be able to concisely, clearly explain what problem you're solving, how large opportunity you're pursuing is, and why you're the right team to be able to accomplish it. I think these are probably some of the things I would think.
No, absolutely. I think I totally agree to you. One of the points you made, that when you really need cash, you need cash. Then valuation doesn't matter. And then there are times when the valuation matters. And then you can raise on your terms. I think that's a very good advice to founders. I think the other piece that what we hear a lot from founders is, it's very difficult to list on Zepto. It's very difficult to get on Blinkit. And you gave me some insights when we were sitting inside that you are here to even meet some of these category managers. Right? So what will be your advice to founders saying, how should they talk about or go about listing on these quick commerce platforms, etc.?
Yeah, I think the early days for us, I can give you our example. We were trying to list on Instamart for close to a year, and we weren't very successful initially. What we did is we showed them our Swiggy and Zomato sales data, said we have a strong case wherein we have some product market fit, we have good traction on your food aggregator platform already. Why don't you consider 1 or 2 SKUs as a starting point? Just get a foot into the door. We'll give you some additional commission. So make it exciting for you as well. So I think we used that strategy. And once we got into the first quick commerce player, we used that to say, okay, we're already on Instamart now. Why don't you get us onto your platform? Because Instamart's doing very well for us. So I think you just need to have that initial, and you don't have to pay an agent. You don't have to pay some third party to do this. You just need to, have the right product, talk to the right people, keep trying to relentlessly pursue them if you need to. And once you're in, I think it makes it easier. It becomes a bit easier. And then maintain the relationships, nurture those relationships. I'm not saying I'm an expert at that in any way, but you have to make some effort to do that.
No worries. Thanks for that. And the next phase I want to talk about is a little bit more sweet. You talked about your sweet tooth. We talked about sweet ice creams, sweet flavors of Indian mithai. But what we as IPV team liked the sweetest is the husband-wife relationship in the business, right? How was it, to get your own, I would say, the life partner into the business?
Yeah.
And how does it impact your relationships?
Sure.
And how do you handle, home and work with the same person?
No, I think it's all in all, I would say it's a very good deal. We get to spend time. I don't know if we spend quality time, but we get to spend time. There's a lot of trust in what each other is doing. You don't have to doubt ever that there's some kind of other incentive that the other person has, ulterior motive the other person has. That's never in question. And I think also it's important that the skill sets are complementary. It shouldn't just be because you're husband and wife, you do it together. But I come with a product, background. I trained as a chef. So for me, building product out and doing operations around it is something I enjoy and I'm good at, I would say. Ashni is extremely good at marketing and brand building. And she has a far deeper understanding of consumer behavior and relevancy than I do. So I think that worked out really well for us. So conversations don't end, work doesn't end. It spills over at home often, but I think it's part of the startup journey. If you're building a mom and pop business or a traditional business, is different. In our case, everything is on steroids, so you're constantly talking about something every day.
Awesome. So I think you're saying that while both of you are professionally and technically qualified in your own fields, it's Arshi that makes your communications notoriously good.
She does, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that your name Noto is inspired by a small town in Sicily.
Correct.
Italy. So do you want to give us a little bit more insight into that story?
Yeah. So in Italy, interestingly, Noto also means known. It translates to known. So, and we both studied in Italy, at different times, different courses. I did pizza making there, and she did her fashion designing there. So we both have a lot of affinity, and I think Italy is probably one of the best places in the world for ice cream or gelato. And Noto as a town had this very special product in ice cream, so that we said we'll use this. It was easy to remember, I think we just stuck with it. Then and we've done a few campaigns and playing on the words. Noto as well, using no and to. So say no to sugar.
No to sugar.
Yeah. But we don't really mind how people pronounce it. As far as people consume our ice cream, we're more than happy.
Sure. Yeah. So as we kind of come to the last phase of this conversation, and before I get to the next phase, I just want to know, where do you see Noto in the next 5 years? And how do you see it developing?
Yeah, I mean, what I would really, what I envision seeing is being actually available across the country. Like geographically, we're a massive country. Today we're covering maybe 1/5, 1/6 of it. Just a few metros and 1 or 2 tier 1 cities. There's a lot of potential to, expand our presence. Whether we do it ourselves through a franchising network, through offline, that's yet to be seen. But giving access of what we're building to many more Indians in a manner that's reasonable enough, there's a value proposition attached to the product, is something I'd love to see. And actually being able to make that difference in changing the way we think about sweets and desserts altogether. That's, I think, what the ideal journey would look like. Yeah.
All the best in what you do.
Thank you so much.
And now let's get to my favorite part of this whole conversation. It's a rapid fire round. So let's get started. The Noto product you are most proud of in terms of creativity and innovation?
Roasted hazelnut bar.
Roasted hazelnut bar. I love that too. All right. Your favorite ice cream flavor from Noto's range of flavors?
I would say initially it was a salted caramel, because I spent 2 months working on that recipe myself. And I do remember folks from the Baskin Robbins team being extremely envious of that product. So I would say that's the one we worked really hard on, and it wasn't. But it's not. And the reason I say that also, this is a rapid fire, so I'll keep it short. But so salted caramel would be one, and we did a collaboration with 4700 BC Popcorn, where we did a caramel popcorn ice cream.
Awesome.
So that was a lot of fun, and that was interesting. Yeah, caramel popcorn. Yeah.
All right. Mint chocolate chip ice cream. Love it or hate it?
I love it.
Awesome. So between Ashni and you, who is the head and who is the heart of NOTO?
I would say I'm the head, she's the heart.
The brain and heart. All right. Your biggest inspiration?
I would say Naturals Ice Cream is one of the something that's inspired me. Naturals, yeah. Wonderful, wonderful business, wonderful job, wonderful product, yeah.
Your favorite movie or TV show of all time?
Favorite movie or TV show of all time? Wow, that's a tough one, yeah. Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Your favorite chusky flavor as a child?
Oh, Kala Khatta.
The one celebrity you would love to see eating NOTO?
Maybe not me, but Ashni, Shah Rukh Khan. She's a diehard fan, yeah.
Understood, SRK. If you had to describe NOTO's journey through one song, what would that be?
I don't think I would answer for this one. Songs नहीं याद आएंगे मुझे बिल्कुल.
It might be कुछ मीठा हो जाए by
from where is that from?
I know something like that.
Yes, we'll make up a song.
If you could open a NOTO store anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, right here first. I mean, in first one would be Mumbai. Yeah, I think so. That's where since we started there, it would be nice to have the first one in Mumbai, maybe in Bandra.
Okay.
Yeah.
I often end up in Natural Store on the Marine Drive.
Yeah.
It's quite a
it's a nice store. Yeah.
What's the funniest or most heartwarming feedback you have received from a customer?
I was from someone who was severely diabetic, and they wrote us almost a 2-paragraph message on Instagram saying how they're actually able to consume this so frequently without having to worry, and that's changed their entire perception of sweets. So I think that actually felt very, very nice.
Oh, thanks for making that happen.
Yeah.
Your LinkedIn bio says staying chill.
Yeah.
What is one thing do you do everyday basis to make sure you actually stay chilled out?
So I take a walk through our cold rooms to actually just see how the stock is kept. But that's can't say them for more than 30 seconds. But yeah, that's my literal way of saying chill.
So if you were to win the lottery tomorrow, what is the first thing you would do?
Oh, so I have an affinity for maybe animals, rescuing animals. So maybe have one cat, a pet adoption center or an animal shelter. Awesome. That's something I would do. Maybe that's a retirement plan, but yeah.
That's very noble of you.
Yeah.
Last one. What's the one thing that ice cream has taught you about life?
I think just perseverance. Just consistency, perseverance, being at it. I think the food business is kind of like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. That was a great one talking to you, Varun.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. Varun, if you could sign this, and you have to write the message as well. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for reminding me. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So that goes there actually with all the
okay, perfect. I'm gonna write.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.